Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to Healthy Eating with Gabrielle Hauser from Oak Street Health. We want to thank you all for coming today. Before we begin, I'll just explain a little bit about ElderWorks. We provide senior living coordination, advocacy, and education. So if you ever have any questions, we do act kind of as senior guidance counselors, so we can definitely provide you any referrals for any kind of resources you're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Gabrielle Hauser. She is a certified nurse practitioner at Oak Street Health, and they do have a new location open up in Streamwood, if you're in that area. They provide primary care for older adults on Medicare. And at the end, Joaquin will come on and explain a little bit more about what Oak Street Health does and how they can help you out. So I'll go ahead and turn it over. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabrielle, or I also go by Gabby. I'm giving a presentation on healthy eating today, and that's actually one of my favorite topics to talk about, so I'm so excited. So let me just share my screen real quick. And wait a few. Okay. Oh, hold on. Did I start from I started from the wrong one. Okay, now we're at the beginning. So, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I love making this a discussion more than just a presentation. So the first thing I like to talk about with healthy eating before we even get started is that it's not an all-in situation. It's a slow process. If you think about anything that you're trying to do, try to make changes, whether it's exercise, healthy eating, even just getting your medications in order, starting slow shows more benefit than starting fast. So there's no reason why you should cut out every single carb in your diet because your doctor told you to. It would be something more simple, like if you have a sandwich every day for lunch, try to have one less sandwich a week, or maybe just do the bottom bread instead of the bottom and the top bread. So just starting small is, I think, the best way to really be able to make a big change for yourself. So that was my opening remarks. So first, talking about Oak Street, who we are, we primarily care for adults on Medicare. So 65 and older, we really specialize in geriatric medicine. I love working with the older adults. I think that's where like my passion lies. And we want anybody who's willing to come to us for that extra specialty. We spend more time with our patients and we try to reduce hospitalizations. It says there our approach has reduced hospitalizations by nearly 40%. Oak Street is a different medical company than anyone that I've ever worked for, and it's refreshing and patient focused. So Joaquin, my coworker, will talk a little bit more about that at the end. So the goal of this presentation, kind of like what I talked about at the beginning, is to create a healthy lifestyle, not a fad diet. I've actually had patients recently coming to me asking me about those fad diets. And honestly, I don't really believe in them when it comes to, the keto diet or just, Atkins, things like that. I think that everything has to be tailored individually. And so often when people try to do a diet, they fail at it because they're feeling restricted, and that they, when you're restricted, you're not happy. And so then in the end, you end up spiraling back to where you were in the beginning. So that's why it's good to start off slow. It's about balance, eating the right things, and specifically, which so many people, including myself, struggle with, eating the right amount of food. So the healthier options. The way I like to describe this is, I was told one time we should only be shopping the perimeters of the grocery store. So the veggies, the deli, the meat section, and then the dairy section, anything that's refrigerated. Obviously, you can get stuff in the middle aisles, but limiting them to a certain amount, because, those are the more processed foods, the saltier foods, the ones with expiration dates in like 4 years. So you're just, questioning the how good those things are for you. But so the healthier options, obviously, fruit, vegetable, low-fat dairy products, which we could talk a little bit more about, whole grains instead of the, white bread or white pasta, fish or low-fat fish, poultry, beans, nuts, and seeds. And again, all of these in moderation, because you can say, oh, nuts, they're so high in fat. So, just a handful a day as a snack is really good for those healthy fats, which again, we're going to talk about. Really can't get enough of fruit and vegetables. When I gave this presentation previously, somebody asked me, well, what about fruits? They have sugars in them. People tell me about how they can be fattening and bad for my diabetes. The best fruits are the berries, those strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries. They have the least amount of sugar in them. The ones, in the end, all fruit is better than processed sugar, but you do have to be careful with some fruits, specifically like bananas. They have a lot of carbs and sugar, and even apples. I know that little apple guy's in there, but getting a smaller apple, because apples do have carbs and sugar in them. Vegetables pretty much are all good. Low fat dairy products. I'm a big advocate for Greek yogurt because it has that protein in it. All poultry, chicken and turkey are typically pretty good. Like I talked about, whole grains, the fish, sticking to those that have the healthy fats like the omega-3s, the salmon, tilapia is okay. Shrimp can get when you get into the shellfish, it can be a little higher in cholesterol. But again, everything in moderation. Avoiding harmful food. So everybody's familiar with this, the fried food, the processed food, sugar, soda, salt. So trying to limit your eating out, or especially eating out at unhealthy restaurants like fast food, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all that stuff. And then the processed food, this little plate, I think is supposed to represent a frozen dinner, which those frozen dinners can be loaded with salt so that they can preserve kind of like the naturalness of them. And then we go down to Mr. Angry Salt down here, because the salt can increase your blood pressure. So limiting the amount of salt in your diet is good. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later too. And then obviously this candy soda, you don't need soda in your life, honestly. If you have one a day, maybe that's okay, but you really don't need it. Between the carbonation and the sugars, it's causing more harm than it's doing good, in my opinion. So this is probably my favorite slide. So how do we read a food label? Hopefully some of you know how to read a food label. I wish I could, oh yes, my cursor. Hopefully you guys can see my cursor. So many people look at the calories, but really this section is the most important. The first one we have to look at is, okay, what's the serving size? So 2/3 of a cup is 55 grams. So that's how much in this. Obviously, I don't know what this label is for, but sometimes the serving size is a lot smaller than you think it is. So just being conscientious about that. And then if you do have, 1.33 cups or doubling this, make sure you double all of these numbers to be able to see. So first we're looking at fat, the fat that causes cholesterol in your heart. Looking at the percentages is based off of a 2,000 calorie diet a day. So take that as you may. I think it's more important to look at the grams and maybe figure out how many calories you're eating a day or how many you should be eating and go off of that. When it comes to fat, total fat is fine, but when you get down to this trans fat and saturated fat, that's where we pretty much always want to have 0 and 0. These trans fat cannot be digested by your body. So once it goes in there, it never comes out. And the saturated fat is almost just as bad. So keeping this to 0 is as important as you can get. The total fat, like I said, it can be that healthy fat too, from like avocados or nuts, things like that. So, but just making sure that it's reasonable, not, once you get into the double digit numbers here is when you get a little concerned. Cholesterol, this is good to look at. Honestly, a lot of foods don't really have that much cholesterol. The cholesterol in foods does translate to the cholesterol in your blood, but not solely. That fat and the cholesterol go into what causes the cholesterol in your bloodstream. Sodium, really important, especially if you have high blood pressure. Our goal is to keep, like it says over here, under 2,000 milligrams of salt per day. That's really important pretty much for everything, because what I was always told is salt follows water. So if you're putting a lot of salt in, your water is pooling from your blood vessels or your kidneys or wherever, and that's what's causing you to bloat. So reducing the sodium is really important. Carbohydrate, this section right here that's highlighted, is really important for patients with diabetes. So this fiber is really good. So if there's more fiber in here, the more fiber, the better, in my opinion. It's always good. I know so many people struggle with constipation, and fiber is really good for cholesterol too. Fiber binds to that cholesterol and releases it out. So it hopefully decreases the amount of cholesterol in your body. Carbohydrates, rather than sugars, carbohydrates are what transition into sugar. So many people, even non-diabetics, think, oh, I need to reduce my intake of Snickers bars or candy, or things that we think of as sugar. But really what affects blood sugar levels are carbohydrates, because in your body the carbohydrates metabolize into the sugar or the glucose that your insulin that's made in your pancreas needs to fight. So keeping these carbohydrates as low as you can. Some people might be on, having to actually count their carbs and give themselves insulin. So hopefully they'd be familiar with reading this. And then protein, as much protein as you can get, because the protein can counteract the carbs in here. So nowadays, the latest research shows, if you had low blood sugar, it was always, or you see on the commercials, oh, eat a Snickers bar. That's not the case anymore. We'd rather have you do something with a complex carbohydrate and a protein. So when I was working in the hospital and patients would have low blood sugar, we would give them whole wheat graham crackers and a milk for the protein and the complex carbohydrate, because that is going to bring your blood sugar up without having it go too high or crashing again. These vitamins down here are just an added bonus. Honestly, whatever, as long as there's vitamins in there, it's good. And as many vitamins as you can get, I would say that's a benefit. Let me see, did I cover everything that's on the bullet points? Yeah. I like this bullet point. Is this a snack or a meal? So 37 carbohydrates is a lot of carbohydrates. So if you're doing this as a snack and you're going to have some rice or something for dinner, you might want to second guess, or do half a serving or something like that. Helpful tips for a healthier diet. Like I mentioned, saturated in trans fat, increased cholesterol, and should be avoided. Basically, this is one that I would say not in moderation. These two should be avoided at all costs. Commonly found in butter, oils, and processed food. The more like extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil you have, the more likely it's not going to have as much saturated or trans fat. For the oils wise, I know they can be a little, but the problem is with these ones, they can be a little bit more expensive. And then the processed foods, obviously. And again, what I was kind of talking about, unsaturated fats reduce our cholesterol and our healthy fats. So that's the avocado, this would be the extra virgin olive oil, the omega-3s in the fish, such as salmon. Those are good ones. And then low fat, low salt nuts. Almonds are my favorite choice. Ironically, they're on here. If someone were to ask about what nuts they should eat, almonds would be my first choice, because when you get to peanuts, they get a little oily, and same thing with like walnuts. And then obviously, nuts come with salt on them. So making sure they're at least amount of salt. And then obviously, as many people have been told, instead of red meat, try lean chicken or turkey. That beef is just not easily digested by us. A lot of times it can cause those acid reflux symptoms, or high cholesterol too. So I basically have replaced everything in my diet, every type of beef, with turkey. So if I'm making tacos and doing ground beef, I do ground turkey instead. I've even done ground tofu, which I know people wouldn't be as comfortable doing, but really it's super easy and they don't need that cooked that much. And if you put the right seasonings on it, it tastes really good. Yeah, but lean chicken, cutting off, making sure to do more the breast than the thigh, because the thighs have more fat on it and everything. But okay, yeah, so tips for a healthier diet. So more of these fresh fruit and vegetables instead of canned ones. Really taking as much as the majority of your grocery cart should be from the produce department. And that's basically the end all be all. If you need to use canned veggies, this is a really good tip. Rinse them out before you use them, because they're stored in that salt to preserve them. So rinsing them out can reduce the amount of salt that's in there. I do it with all of my vegetables, and you can even tell it like bubbles at the top. And once it stops bubbling at the top, that means a lot of the salt is gone, which is really good. Because especially if you're going to add salt in your dish anyways, you don't need the extra salt from canned vegetables. But if you can avoid canned vegetables at all costs, I really would. Frozen vegetables are better than canned vegetables because they have less sodium like I said, avoiding those inner aisles as much as you can. Instead of frying your food, baking, steaming, roasting, sauteing, grilling, obviously the frying, it has to do with that oil, because that oil has those saturated and trans fats in them. So I know there's lots of air fryers now and so many different, and pressure cookers and different ways to cook. So baking and grilling, steaming, yeah, all of that is better than done. Try using alternative seasonings. I love, for Christmas, my grandma got me a bunch of salt, or a bunch of seasonings that are, aesthetically pleasing. They all look the same and they're labeled, and I'm like loving it. It makes my kitchen look so good, and it makes me want to use more seasonings as much as I can, because I have this nice looking seasoning section of my kitchen. So it says in here, pepper, garlic powder, rosemary, thyme, ginger, whatever you need, whatever, so many people have different nationalities and use different seasonings based on their nationalities, as long as it's trying to avoid as much salt as we can. So going back to the salt, reduces your risk of heart disease, lowers your blood pressure, reduces bloating. I kind of talked about that earlier, and eliminates your craving for salty snacks. I think the biggest thing I want to talk about here is the salt shaker is not the primary culprit in a lot of people's heart disease and blood pressure. Most of it comes from those canned vegetables, or, I think we will have another slide on this, but salt can be hidden in a lot of different things that you don't really realize, like bread. There's a lot of salt in bread. So it's not necessarily just the salt shaker. So if you're avoiding those white breads and those canned foods and things with high salt, you can use the salt shaker. It really, I think, only is like 20% of a person's daily intake of salt. So I think that's the next slide. So, yeah. Oh yeah, there it is. Only 20% of salt comes from a salt shaker. So avoiding those mostly frozen dinners, and canned foods, the salt can really greatly decrease. Where is all the sodium coming from? The two that surprised me the most from this one were the breads and the cheese. So obviously a lot of people love cheese and bread, and that's really, but those are surprising. Obviously, so many people know chips, obviously they clearly have salt on them, but choosing the low salt or low sodium option of the chips obviously is going to be better. Canned, we all know. The frozen dinners, yes. Cold cuts, I think a lot of people are aware that cold cuts really aren't that great for you. So again, with the sandwiches, I know so many people love to eat sandwiches and they're so easy to make for lunch. But in the end, between the bread and the cold cuts and the cheese, which typically is what a sandwich is comprised of, that is so much salt. So even just like I said at the very, very beginning, cutting down one sandwich a week and replacing it with a salad or a grilled chicken breast or really anything else. There's so many ideas out there, can really, really decrease your salt intake. And then obviously the sauces I see right here is soy sauce. Soy sauce has a lot of salt in it. And just keeping as few of these, I think this one would be like a Hidden Valley Ranch, keeping as few of those condiments in your fridge as possible at a time will really help you out. Portion control, everybody's favorite topic, my least favorite topic. It's really hard. Portion control is hard. There's a couple slides in here that can really detail easily how you can control your portion. So obviously these are just examples. Oatmeal, and it shows that they have those, berries on there instead of a banana. Skim milk. For lunch, a salad, rice, but brown rice and grilled fish, and then broccoli, sweet potato, and lean chicken breast. I think a good way to change your diet too is really to try to decrease, maybe try to go one day a week without eating a carb. So if this were my daily, I would say maybe try to take out the brown rice pilaf and see if you can stay full. Obviously, without carbs, it's harder to stay full. But adding that fish onto your salad or chicken onto your salad, or even like chickpeas or nuts that can really make you feel full, whereas just a plain salad with plain vegetables can sometimes make you even more hungry. At least that's how I feel. And then you're eating more and stuff that's not as good for you. So planning ahead for your lunch, if you need to, adding those nuts or a protein of some sort to your salad can make you feel fuller. Sweet potatoes obviously have carbs in them, but at least they're a vegetable and they're less, they have that starch, but they're still relatively healthy. Okay, portion control. So I love that. Don't eat from the bag or the pot. I'm definitely guilty of that. So serve yourself a portion, put it in a bowl, and don't just pour the whole pot in the bowl, because when you're sitting at the table or sitting wherever you eat, you know you have to get up and get another serving, and then you second guess yourself like, oh, okay, maybe I can just put this away and eat it tomorrow, save money, save calories, and honestly save some time too. So a teaspoon is about just your fingertip, and that's how much butter your toast needs, which is so difficult. Just even looking at my finger, that is not a lot of butter for if you're eating a whole piece of toast that's this big. Tablespoon is the size of your thumb. So a tablespoon of peanut butter, if you look at peanut butter labels, 2 tablespoons, which is the size of your thumb, has a lot of calories. So if you're eating more than 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, you should maybe try to opt for something else. It's really the peanuts in it. And even I bought almond butter this week at the grocery store. And I was comparing the label of the peanut butter to almond butter, thinking like, oh, I'm going to be so much healthier with the almond butter. They were almost exactly the same. So I was like, the peanut butter tastes better, so I'm going to keep going with that. But watching the portion sizes, again, that's what we're talking about. Serving size of meat is 3 ounces. So that's the size of your palm. And I don't know if anybody's ever heard this, but your stomach is about the size of your fist. So thinking about sometimes how much food you eat and thinking about the size of your stomach and how much it has to expand to be able to eat all that food is crazy to me. So, right. Protein, the size of your palm. The carbs, so pasta or rice would be this part, really small. And this doesn't mean, okay, I can stack it up to here. It means pretty much just the surface area of this one level down. So not stacking it up higher. And then the clenched fist, your whole fist, which is again, about the size of your stomach, is a double serving of ice cream, or this is 1 cup. So even though this to me looks like a scoop of ice cream when I get at my local ice cream stores, but so again, these are all really difficult things when you think about like, okay, what did I eat for dinner last night? I had, a 5 ounce or 6 ounce piece of chicken and and then I had pasta. And you're looking at the amount of pasta saying, oh man, I probably ate 3 times the amount of that. I'm not asking you to go down to even this much initially, just even decreasing it by 1 portion size or not going back for seconds. That's a big start too. So how can I commit to a healthy lifestyle? Start small, like I've been saying this whole time. And add more as you go. It's the same thing with exercise. When I tell people to increase their exercise regimens, I don't tell them to exercise 5 days a week. Tell them to start with 1 or even 10 minutes, just instead of watching an extra episode of something or that evening news, because there's so much going on in the world right now, get up and even if you can't go outside, I know here it's really rainy, walk laps around your apartment. I was on the phone with my mom for an hour on Sunday and I just stood up and walked laps around my apartment. I got 6,000 steps in just 55 minutes or 50 minutes. It was really great. And I'm a big advocate for yoga, especially in elderly people, because it makes you more limber and really helps the mobility. There are other diet modifications. Obviously, everybody's individual and you need to talk to your specific provider about everything. But I think in general, this is a good start. And then obviously, I would love to have these conversations with you. Like I said, I love talking about diet and we're here to support you in your health goals. I think the last thing I want to say is about eating out. I know so many people love to eat out, and including myself, it's one of the things I do for fun. but going, the portion sizes there are so huge. So committing to yourself beforehand, maybe if you're going with a partner, splitting a meal, even splitting an appetizer and splitting a meal, it saves you money and it saves you the calories. Or before you go into it, say, hey, can I have a to-go box with my meal, and just cut it in half, cut your meal in half, put it right in the to-go box, close it off, and don't open it back up until, the next day. So you eat what's on your plate, which is half the portion size, which is probably even more than a typical portion size. And then you can still have leftovers for the next day, which sometimes are better than the first day anyways. So I think those are all my tips. It was great talking to you all today. I'd love to have any questions, if that's possible.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, you can put those in the chat box and we can address those. I do have a quick question. Do you recommend people take vitamins, and what kind of vitamins are most important? I know there's a lot of different options out there.
Yeah, I get this question like almost every day. So vitamins and things that you see like in the grocery store are not regulated by the FDA. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, I found this vitamin at the grocery store for my memory, should I be taking it? And I'll say, if you think that it'll work for you, you are more than welcome to take it. I'm an advocate for vitamins, but in the end, I do, and so many people in the medical community, look at the research and what's the most recent evidence. And vitamins, unfortunately, are not tested when it comes to evidence. So it's all based on everything that you read on the bottle is just advertising from the company to get you to sell it. I take a daily vitamin, just a multivitamin, because I don't know, I believe in vitamins because so many people don't have a great healthy lifestyle, to just get those extra vitamins in there. But when it comes to other ones, like I was saying, the memory ones, those are the ones where I get a little more like, When it comes to probiotics, multivitamins, just taking vitamin D, C, B, folic acid, especially for, I'm not sure anybody's dealing with pregnancy here, but I really am an advocate for those. But so yeah, I don't think vitamins can do you any harm, really.
Okay, thanks. Does anyone else have questions? You can put those in the chat.
Good. Oh, wait.
I don't see any. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Joaquin here now so he can just finish up this presentation. And I'd love to have any of you guys who are listening as my patient at Oak Street. We're still growing. We're still new. We opened in December. So we're here in Streamwood. Love to at least just get to meet you. All right, I'm turning it over to Joaquin.
Thank you. Gabby, that was great. You did phenomenal. Hi, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Thumbs up. Perfect. Yeah, so my name is Joaquin, and I get to work with Gabby here at Oak Street Health. So I am going to, yeah, I think you covered this one. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Oak Street Health, who we are, what do we do, if this is something that you are interested in, hopefully. Basically, we are an organization that offers primary care for adults on Medicare. So general medicine, internal medicine, family medicine, but to be a patient at one of our locations, you need to be on Medicare or Medicare plan. And so that's very different from your traditional primary care practice. We started here in Chicago in 2013. And so it's been about now 10 years that we'd open. And since then we've grown, and we have multiple locations, about 136 nowadays. And many of them could be really near you. So we have about 25 in the Chicagoland area. And Gabby and I work in the newest one in Illinois, which is in Streamwood. So that's by Schaumburg, not too far from Elderworks, is in Palatine. And we do a lot of community outreach to tell people what we do and the type of care that we offer. And a lot of it we do with Elderworks. And so we work a lot with Emily and Jennifer in sort of raising awareness of things like this, right? And how to eat healthier. we are a proud sponsorship of the Stepping Into Fitness sort of event that is happening with Other Works right now. I think Gabby mentioned how important it is, besides healthy eating, to do some exercise. And she was talking a little bit about how many steps she did in talking with her mom. And you guys are doing that right now. So I'm really proud of all of you in that competition. I think, Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, but it goes until the end of March.
So we will be going till the end of March, and then we're kicking it off again in May. So we're gonna keep
Oh,
going with it.
awesome. Very good. Yeah. So I'm excited for all of you guys who are part of that Stepping Into Fitness. We believe, right, in that when we want to take care of seniors, healthy eating and exercise and socializing make a huge part of being healthier. So I'm going to spend the next just 5 minutes or so telling you a little bit about our care model and the things that we offer here if you wanted to be a patient. The first things that we do is, right, when you think about receiving care, Oak Street Health believes that one shoe doesn't fit all. So when you think of a primary care physician, they see a range of different ages. So the way that they practice, right, it's general medicine for all families. So it could be a patient could be a teenager or young adult or somebody on Medicare, usually Medicare kicks in at 65. And so the way that they see patients and how often and how much time they spend with each of their patients, it's not tailored to senior care only. But at Oak Street, we believe that we want to just be able to offer things to our patients that are, tailored to their needs, whether you are 65 and above or you got Medicare through a disability before. And so what we want to do, it's a lot of guidance, right, that involve healthy eating, that could also talk about coordination with additional benefits that you can get with Medicare. Medicare, it's an earned benefit. You work your whole life for it. And so when you get it, there's a lot of things that you got to understand how to use, your prescription drug coverage and how to tap into additional benefits and coordinate referrals to your specialists and so on. And so what we've done here for our patients, if you choose to be a patient here and see Gabby, potentially she's one of our providers here at Streamwood or any of other locations, they have about, they range from having one provider to 5 or 8, just depends on what the location and how many years we've been open. But if you choose to be a patient at Oak Street, what you're going to get, it's a care plan and receive medical attention that's tailored to your needs. So how does that look? Well, it's a lot of like individualized attention. We want to make sure that we meet you. You're not just a number for us. You are one of our patients who we're going to take a look at, and whatever are your individual needs is going to cater the type of medical attention we're going to deliver to you, right? Because we see only adults on Medicare, a lot of it, it's like, okay, we got to believe more in, we got to practice more preventive care. So seeing you more often might be one of the things that you get from Oak Street, because we believe that, hey, if we're able to see you more often and keep some of your health conditions at bay, it makes all the sense in the world. So why not? We want to be spending more time with you because traditionally, the average physician is not able to spend enough time with each of their patients. And that's okay if you're a young adult like me, and you don't need to spend a lot of time with your doctor. But if you are on Medicare, you are a senior and you want to spend more time with your doctor, we don't believe in rushing you in and out of appointments. We also have a sense of community. We're doing this today to all of you. You probably are not patients at Oak Street, but we believe in doing things out to the community. So a lot of the things that you'll find in our medical centers, for example, the one in Streamwood here, is that we do things in our community room because it's part of just being healthier and socializing. So we have a calendar of events that I can share with all of you of things that we do here in our centers. You don't have to be a patient. We're playing bingo on a weekly basis. We have sometimes a healthy eating presentation we had last month by Gabby. She did here. We're bringing, I don't know, a third party organization to talk about physical therapy, or we're doing audiologist comes and does an educational presentation. So I'll put the calendar in front of you guys. Emily will help me do that, so you guys can know what's going on at our community centers, and not just for the Streamwood location, but in many of the other locations near you. We also pride ourselves in having minimal waiting times because we want to spend more time with you and not so much in the lobby. I think that I speak from experience. A lot of people, that I meet in the community are complaining, well, I had to wait 2 hours to get in to see the doctor, and then the doctor was not spending enough time with me. Well, unfortunately, when you look at this country, right, physicians are only, I think, are averaging about 10 to 11 minutes face-to-face with each of their patients, because the way that they're built. They're usually are taking care of a lot of patients, and so they don't spend enough time with them. They double book sometimes, and patients, often feel like, well, I spent more time in the waiting room than I did with my doctor. So here at Oak Street, we want to spend twice much time with you, and our appointments are usually 20 minutes face-to-face with our providers, or sometimes 40, depends on your on the type of visit. We also, understand that some of your medical needs happen after our clinic hours, after we're closed. So we have a 24/7 call center that is, has, live people taking phone calls, that we can triage what's going on with you, right? And sort of dictate, like, is this an emergency? We need to send you need to go to the hospital, or can we schedule your appointment for the next day? Because we are so proud to be able to say we are able to fit our patients same day or the next day. And it's a huge part of like preventive care and taking really good care of our patients, to be able to see you when you need it, right? Again, when we talk to people, and they have a doctor somewhere else, sometimes, and I'm very unfortunate, the experience is when they try to get in for an appointment, right? If you were to call your doctor today and try to get in, sometimes the waiting time to actually get in for an appointment, it's, you have to wait a week or two or a couple of days. At Oak Street, again, trying to better take care of our patients on Medicare, we offer same day appointments or next day. We also are really proud of offering transportation to our patients, which is huge. It's sometimes a big obstacle for seniors that live independently at home, to be able to get to their doctor. So what Oak Street Health said is, well, we want to really take care of our patients, and that begins from actually their homes and being able to have them come and see us. We want to take care of you, but since we are an actual location, we need to get you here. And so we offer transportation for our patients, picking you up from home and bringing you to every single appointment that you may have with somebody like Gabby, or if you need labs done, or if you just have a nurse visit, we're able to pick you up, bring you here. Once your appointment is done, take you back home. That's a very beautiful picture of our vans. You might have seen them. Like I said, we have about 25 locations in the Chicagoland area. They're wheelchair accessible, and that's a complimentary, transportation service. It's our drivers, our vans. You just need to live in a close proximity from one of our centers, and we're able to do that. Some of our locations have pharmacies in them. So as you are, leaving the appointment with, your prescription, you can able to pick them up from right there and then. If we don't have a pharmacy, like the one in Streamwood doesn't have a pharmacy, obviously you can keep your preferred pharmacy and we can send your prescriptions there. This is kind of like a picture of how our community rooms look, because again, we're medical centers, and for anybody who has not seen an Oak Street Health Center yet, I want to invite you guys to come to check us out. We have an open house, which is a sort of like a tour of our medical center every Thursday, 12 to 1 at every one of our locations. We have a open house. It gives you a chance to come and meet our staff, meet myself, and Gabby sometimes makes the rounds and introduces herself. You'll see the medical center side, you'll see the community room, and then we can have a conversation on the type of care you're receiving today. Where do you go and see a primary care? And if there's anything that can be improved with the way that we take care of our patients, and for you to give us a try. So that's basically it. The idea of doing things like this out to the communities to raise awareness of this type. First of all, how to eat healthier. Thank you, Gabby, for doing that. Very excited to continue to support some of the ElderWorks efforts at that advocacy for seniors, and doing fun things as a step into fitness. I think is really fun. For me individually, right? I'm an outreach person who goes to the community and talks about Oak Street. There's very different type of care that you can receive if you wish to be a patient here, because we're, at the end of the day, basically a doctor's office for adults on Medicare. I'm excited to talk to you guys, and if anybody has any questions, I can open it for questions now.